Thank you, Director Wray. We will now proceed under the 5-minute rule with questions for the witness. I'll begin by recognizing myself. Director, has the Bureau observed any improvements in our efforts to dismantle that fentanyl pipeline? And what role can the Bureau play here?
So I would say it's a mixed bag. Certainly the scourge of fentanyl is still claiming way, way, way too many lives. And I will tell you that from the FBI's perspective, one of the things that we've been observing is that in our takedown of violent gangs, which is of course something that we're doing all over the country all the time, we are noticing almost without exception now that those takedowns of violent gang members also include seizures of fentanyl. So the fentanyl that's coming from the cartels, built on precursors from China, ending up all over the United States, is often being distributed, of course, by these violent street gangs. So that is one of the things that we're observing. We are trying to do our part. This goes way beyond any one agency and frankly beyond law enforcement, as I know a lot of your efforts recognize. But some of the things that we at the FBI are doing to try to do our part, I'll mention a few. Our Safe Streets task forces are going after the gangs that are distributing so much of this poison. Our organized crime, our TOC, transnational organized crime task forces, are going after the cartels. We have close to 400 investigations that go just after cartel leadership. We also have things like J-Code, which is an initiative where we bring together 12 agencies that's focused on the dark web trafficking of fentanyl and other dangerous substances, dismantling darknet marketplaces when we do that. We have a prescription drug initiative because, of course, especially in certain parts of the country, pill mills and irresponsible prescribers of opioids are a driver of much of this epidemic. So we're using our healthcare fraud expertise, for example, to try to go after some of those folks. We're working with our partners on the other side of the border. And there I would say it's very uneven. We've had some instances where we've had a key arrest, an extradition, a key operation. We're starting to work with vetted teams down there, which is an important effort in the right direction. But we need much, much more than we're getting from the Mexican government. So I guess I would summarize my answer to your question by saying a lot of things to be encouraged by in terms of the effort and the work that across multiple agencies people are making, but a lot of things to be very, very concerned about. Last year, I guess the last 2 years in a row, I'll just leave it with this point, the FBI seized enough fentanyl to kill 270 million American people. And that gives you a sense of the scale of what we're up against.
When it comes to Mexico, what is the level of cooperation between our law enforcement agencies, especially when it comes to drug trafficking? Are they working with you in Mexico?
Absolutely. I think one of the really bright spots that I see in my, especially when I compare it to earlier in my career, is how close the partnerships are across all levels of law enforcement. All the federal agencies, state and local law enforcement is so intertwined with today's FBI. Foreign law enforcement in a lot of instances, the intelligence community working with law enforcement. So partnerships are in many ways stronger than ever, and that's one of the things that's keeping this from becoming an even worse problem. We work with, say, DEA on everything from OCDF strike forces. We have DEA task force officers on a lot of our task forces, and vice versa. We work out at their SOD where there's intelligence sharing. So there's a whole range of ways in which we all work together. Obviously, always room for improvement. We're always looking for ways to innovate and take that to the next level. But if there's one bright spot that I can leave the committee with, is that the partnerships among law enforcement are, in my career, the best I've ever seen.
Well, is Mexico honoring our law enforcement efforts to bring the cartel leaders to justice?
As I think I said earlier, uneven. So we've had instances, individual instances of successes, including against significant cartel figures and extraditions, but then the reality is that especially the two major cartels, Sinaloa and CJNG, are the drivers of the vast majority of what we're dealing with here, and we need more from the Mexican government. There are instances to be pleased about. We've had a top 10 fugitive, for example, of ours that they helped us arrest and send back recently. So there are individual instances that are bright spots, but this is such a big problem. We need consistent, sustained, scalable assistance from them.
Well, that border is so open and unchecked, and we're letting in the cartels who not only do drugs, but they do human trafficking and everything else in the book. And my observation is we're not getting enough cooperation out of the Mexican government on seeking out the cartels. Can you agree or disagree with that?
Well, the way I would put it is we certainly need more from the Mexican government. I'm pleased with what we have gotten, but we need a lot more.
Mr. Idaho. Oh, I'm sorry.